Assalamu alaikum. Today we will talk about the router-to-router configuration. Previously, we configured the network with a single router. With a single router, all the subnets are connected to the router and the router has the complete information about the network. But when we add the routers in the network, some of the subnets are connected to the router 1, some to the router 2 and router 3 and so on. So the router doesn't have the complete information about the network. Okay, so here a problem arises how to make the router know that how many different subnets are available in the network and how to reach them. For that reason, we use routing. Okay, it could be static or it could be dynamic. In today's video, we will add the routes static routes. We will add the static routes to the routers. First, let's start with the network layout. We will have two routers and then switches and then we will add two PCs per network. Okay. Then we will connect them. We'll connect the router and switch with the fast Ethernet, switch and PC with the fast Ethernet. But for the router to router, this we will use serial DCE. This doesn't have the serial port, so we will use the other router with the serial port. Okay, serial 2x0, any available serial port we will use, and Ethernet port to connect router to switch. Okay, this is the layout of the network. Now we have two subnets here, this one and this one. When we connect the routers, there is a different subnet here, a different network here. We have to configure it because in router to router configuration, this serial port is configured and we have to provide a different IP address here and different IP address here. So we will use three subnets here, one subnet here, one subnet here, and the third one is here. Now to differentiate the subnets, the subnet where actual transmission or communication is taking place, where your PCs or end devices are connected, this type of subnet, and then and this network between routers, this is merely just this is the core network. ये सिर्फ communication के लिए, ये सिर्फ forwarding के लिए use हो रहा है. So we have to differentiate them. So for the differentiation, I will use different class of IP addresses. For example, if I am using class C IP address for this subnet where your PCs are connected, so I will use class A IP address or class A network address for the router to router configuration. मैं यहाँ पे लिख देती हूँ information. This is the network 192.168.1.0. ये network है. This network is 192.168.2.0, right? And this one I am using class A address. So class A address, let's say I use 10.0.0.0. This is the network. Okay. Now we will start the configuration. For the configuration, we will start with the PCs. The PC configuration is simple, that we have already done. We will write the IP address 192.168.1.2, subnet mask, and then default gateway 192.168.1.1. First IP address is the default gateway. We will copy it and we will use it here as well. 192.168.1.3, control V, 1.1. Okay, so this is the one network, this is the two. 192.168.2.2, 192.168.2.1, default gateway, desktop 2.3 आ जाएगा, and gateway will be same. ठीक है? That's the same configuration as we have done before. अच्छा. Now we will configure the routers. Okay, let's see here. We will configure the router. Again, enable, then config T. Now this configuration is the same as the simple router. Config T interface. What is the interface? Interface FA0 by 0. FA0 by 0. IP address. IP address में आगे we will write the default gateway of this network. What is the default gateway? This is 1.0 network, so default gateway is 1.1. 192.168.1.1 and then subnet mask 255.255.255.0 because it is a class C IP address. अच्छा triple S लिख दिया, that's the problem here. No shut exit. ठीक है? Now this interface is configured. Also the interface here for this router, the configuration is the same as we have already done. Enable, config T, interface. Now what is the interface? FA0 by 0. FA0 by 0, IP address. Now we will write the default gateway of this network. Default gateway is 192.168.2.1 and subnet mask 255.255.255.0 because it is a class C IP address. अच्छा address की spelling गलत है. ADDRESS IP address. No shut exit. Okay. Now if you see, these two terminals are up now. Now we need to configure this serial port. Now this is very important. We have used the serial DCE. If you see, there is a clock here and there is no clock. So when you are configuring this, whichever side has the clock, you just have to give the clock rate. Achha. Now we will configure SC2 by 0. Now the network here is SC2 by 0. The one difference is, for this terminal we use the default gateway. For this terminal we will use the IP address from this network. This is 10.0.0.0, so we will give 10.0.0.1 here and 10.0.0.2 here. So the two ends of the serial port will have a different IP address, and that will then be used in routing. When we are configuring it, static routing हम दे रहे हैं, so we will use it there. ठीक है? So I will write here, this side is 10.0.0.1 and this side is 10.0.0.2. It should be of the same network. ठीक है? This is the network address, and इसी network address में से I have used one IP here and one IP address here. अच्छा, now we will configure the router for serial port. Config T. We will enter into the global configuration, then we will write the interface. Interface is SC2 by 0. 2 by 0. The command is same, IP ADDRESS. The only difference is, here we write the default gateway of this network, and here we will have the IP address 10.0.0.1 IP address and the subnet mask. Now this is class A IP address, so the subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. Okay, no shut. So the spelling mistakes. Okay, now the state change is down. Why? The serial port state is up when you have configured both ends of the serial port. Here, when you configure this end, then the state is up and your network is your subnet is up and running. For this serial port, first you have to configure both sides of the serial port, only then it will be up. This side has been configured. Now we will have to go to the other side. For this router, Again we will config the interface. Okay, one thing, for this serial port there you need to give the clock rate. After entering into the interface mode, first you have to enter the clock rate. I will do it again here. You have to do it together. First you give the clock rate and then you add the IP address. Config t interface कौन सा है, SE2/0 clock rate, ठीक है. अच्छा, now this side again interface कौन सा है, interface SE2/0 IP address क्या है, IP address is 10.0.0.2 10.0.0.2 255.0.0.0. no shut. See, it's up now. When both sides are configured, the change state to up. Exit. Now the configuration is done. You see all the terminals are green. The green terminal means that they are up and running, but the communication is not possible. See, it's failed and failed. For the proper communication, the router must have the information of all the subnets. Now this router is connected to this network and this network, so it can communicate between these networks, but this router has no information about this network. So how it can forward the packet from this to this, okay? If you want to see a simulation mode, you will see the messages are you see messages blocked here because the destination address is unknown to the router. So first you make sure that this router has information of all the destination addresses. Now we will see what network or what subnet is known to the router. The command used is show IP route. You see, this router has information of 10.0 wala network and 192.168.2 network, and the message that you are forwarding, the destination address is 1.0 network. So that's why the router is unable to forward that packet. Similarly, if you check here, this router has show IP address, show IP route, sorry. It has 10.0.0.0 network and 192.168.1.0. So it has no information about 2.0. So first you have to provide the information about 2.0, only then it can forward messages to the 2.0 network. Also, if you see C here, C stands for directly connected network. Okay? So these two networks are directly connected to the router. Here comes the routing. We need to add the route of which subnet, the subnet that is not directly connected और जिसको आपने मैसेज फॉरवर्ड करना है, the root of that IP address. अब इस राउटर में किस IP एड्रेस का रूट ऐड करना है, this subnet, ठीक है. इसका सिंटेक्स क्या होता है, IP root और जो IP root is the command and then the gateway of the network, then you write its subnet mask and then you write next hop address, ठीक है. यहाँ पे इस router में you have to add the network route for this network 2.0. So how we will add it? We will first go to configuration mode, config t, add route root उसका 192.168. Okay, it is not gateway, sorry. We will first add IP root command and then उसका network address लिखते हैं. Network address, then subnet mask, and then next hop address. Okay. अब देखिए IP root, IP root, add root command मैंने लिखा है. Add root, let me check it first. अच्छा 192.168 dot, now what is the address, dot 2.0, and then we will write the subnet subnet mask 255.255.255.0, then next hop address. Now what is the next hop address? Next hop address is to reach that network, राउटर ने किस इंटरफेस के ऊपर मैसेज फॉरवर्ड करना है और वो जो फॉरवर्ड होगा उसमें नेक्स्ट हॉप का आईपी एड्रेस क्या होगा. नाउ इट शुड फॉरवर्ड इट फ्रॉम हियर एंड द नेक्स्ट हॉप आईपी एड्रेस इज 10.0.0.2. ठीक है, सो दिस इज द नेक्स्ट हॉप एड्रेस 10.0.0.2. ठीक है, IP root add root हो गया है. ठीक है, चलिए यहाँ पे इसके में exit, ठीक है, name enable show IP root. Now you see we added 2, so this is the entry for network 2. S stands for static because we are doing the static routing here, so it has S and 192.168 and via 10.0. Okay, we can reach this destination address via this next hop address. ठीक है, now we added the root here, now we need to add root here. Config T. अब यहाँ पे कौन सा नेटवर्क मिसिंग है, 1.0, so we will add the IP root for 1.0. तो इसके लिए हम क्या लिखेंगे, IP root डेस्टिनेशन का नेटवर्क एड्रेस 192.168.1.0, डेस्टिनेशन का सबनेट मास्क 255.255.255.0 and then the next hop address. Now to reach here this router's next hop address is this. कि डेटा जो फॉरवर्ड होगा यहाँ से it will come to this terminal 10.0.0.1. 10.0.0.1. Now if we don't use different unique IP address, we cannot identify the next hop address. ठीक है, that's why we don't use the gateway. If we use the gateway, the both next hop addresses will be the same. ठीक है, for this communication and this communication. So for this, to identify the next hop address uniquely, we need a unique IP address 10.0.0.1. Enter, exit. Now we will check its routing table. Show IP root. Now it has the information of all 3 networks. ठीक है, now we will see if communication is possible. See, now it's successful. Oh, why failed? Oh, successful now. ठीक है, so now it is up and running. We added the static root to the routers. Now to make the router know about all the subnets in the network, and only then, after adding the static route, the router is capable of sending message to any subnet in the network. You can add subnet here and then configure it again to check if ठीक है. इसी तरह आप you can add different network and then you can configure it to see if your network is up and running. And that's all. Thank you.